Okay. Okay, here it is, folks. Project 2025. This is from the Majority Report 13 days ago. So I had this for a while, do a reaction to this. And this is sort of a warning, I guess, I'm doing. I don't know. More of a warning to the Democratic Party. And get their act together. They want this guy to win. Want the Republicans to win. Seriously, here Trump's project, but this is not Trump's project. This is for any Republican who becomes president. They could enact whatever he wants to do. Like get rid of the not rule of law, but get rid of democracy and make him like a king, like a monarchy, kind of a ruler, a dictatorship. Get rid of the checks and balances, and maybe the courts, get rid of the courts, or somehow change them. And get rid of his opposition, put people in deporting people, all kinds of stuff. People who disagree with him or against him, his enemies. Getting rid of his enemies who went against him. He's gonna go after them. And a lot of people on the left, like some on the left, I should say, who think this is not seriously. Some of these guys, some of these channels, I support these channels, but they're wrong on this thing. Everything else they're right. RBN, they say both. They don't like both parties duopoly, but I disagree with them. I think their comment is, I don't know, kind of unhinged. They're thinking it's unhinged when they say that Biden is worse than Trump, and it's not going to be a problem if he gets back in. But I think, but they also criticize Trump. But they're thinking that he's gonna, because he didn't do anything. He tried to do stuff and he couldn't. He was stopped by like the system, like the checks and balances of the system. But now when he gets in, they're gonna get rid of them. With his 2025 prod ruling, or it's a project or whatever. He's gonna put all his yes men in, and you don't have to worry about that. So the regular establishment people, they stopped him from doing a lot of things. People keeps forgetting that. So he's not gonna do. So when he gets in, it's gonna be totally different. And they just believe that. A lot of people believe that. Even Democrats, even Democrats, the regular Democrats believe that. Or liberals, it's gonna won't be as bad. But I'm thinking it's gonna be bad. And when he tells you, when somebody tells you he's gonna do this, he's gonna threaten. When somebody tells you a threat, you're threatening you take it seriously. That's what I go by. You know what I mean? You never know. And he's gonna try and do this stuff, folks. So the question is he's gonna be enough people to stop him this time. What was I saying about RBN? But they don't like Trump either, with RBN guys. But they're totally wrong take on this. Definitely wrong. That's where the other leftist, Jimmy Dore, he's just shilling for Trump. Complete shill. Trump does nothing wrong. He hardly criticizes Trump. And total shill. They call him a right winger, but he's just a liberal. Shit liberal. I think he thinks in a way he thinks like Trump in a way, the way he acts. Kind of like misogynistic and bigoted. certain views he has, even though he's right on some issues. And on Israel, he seems to be on his side of the Israel. And at first he wasn't, but I guess he's going by the numbers. He's supposed to be a so-called liberal. It's more like a moderate shit liberal. I don't know. But anyways, folks, I talked too long. Let's start this. This is what this is all about. Trump 2025 or Project 2025.
Trump. I mean, he cares about himself, and his agenda is retribution. It's revenge. He's going for payback. That's what he's doing, and that will be it. He wants to restore the luster of his reputation as the biggest winner that history has ever known. The reputation that he made. However, he's gathered around him now people who actually have other agendas and who are there to actually do something, and they've now understand the instrument that is Donald Trump to get that done. And that is not just, I mean, yes, there are the people around him like Stephen Miller and Jason Miller and Boris Epstein and the crew that we're familiar with, but now the whole institutional foundation of the Republican Party is behind this now. They have now decided, and I wouldn't base it, I'm sure K Street is there too, although we haven't heard a lot about that, but I have no doubt that they're involved in this to some degree. The think tanks are where we're talking, Heritage being the number one, seems to be putting together this, Agenda 2025, and there are several aspects to that. One of the biggest ones is that the professionalization of that is just that they are putting this in the hands of people who are preparing to implement their plans. It's not just we're going to put out a white paper and this is what we want to do. They're actually getting the steps in place to do it. And what they want to do, of course, and I'm sure people have heard about this, what they want to do is find a way to fire civil service employees, get rid of anybody who is not a full-fledged Trump follower, and turn the entire executive branch into essentially a patronage operation, where it's just, here's these are jobs for you, the good Trump people, you will go in there and do that. And of course that fits the agenda of the Republicans, longstanding agenda of basically, drowning the government in a bathtub, as Grover Norquist used to say. So, they had...
It's really funny you mentioned Grover Norquist, because I remember he was one of the few people who...
Well, it's even worse than that. Especially with Trump. It's more than just defunding the government, folks. He goes into it more.
Were as explicit about this in the run-up to the 2016 election, which was, I don't care who it is. We just need somebody to be able to sign the legislation.
They said it's somebody who can hold a pen in their hands. That's all they said.
And what we have moved, though, from I think the legislative branch of the Republican Party understood the value of Trump in that respect. But now there is we're coming in and we're doing all of to the extent that we have our version of civil servants, because that's almost like an anathema to the Republican Party. They don't want there to be civil servants, but they do have people who are expertise at bureaucrats, right? I can't remember his name from Oklahoma now, but the first FDA or EPA chief, Scott, what's his name?
What's his name?
His experience was all in suing Scott Pruitt. His experience was all in suing the EPA to inhibit the EPA's power, and then became head of the EPA. They're getting people in like that who are familiar with the workings of government, who can come in and really fully accomplish the deconstruction of the administrative state.
That's right. I mean, the deconstruction of the administrative state, of course, was a Steve Bannon thing. And, you can't really underrate that guy's influence here. I mean, he seems like he's sort of a gadfly out there podcasting.
It's interesting. So this is all this guy's master plan. Yeah. Well, he was with Trump in it. He was with Trump for a while. You know what I mean? When he was in his administration for a while. So.
all day, and he is. And he is a gadfly in many ways. But a lot of the sort of, intellectual underpinning of this, chaos agenda of his is coming to fruition within the Republican Party. And, you have to really understand, this isn't Trump anymore, really. I mean, this is now the Republican Party. This is their institution.
Exactly, folks. This is more than Donald Trump. So whoever gets in, see if Trump gets arrested and or whatever, he gets put in jail, something happens to him, and whoever gets, I don't know who's the primaries, I guess Nikki Haley or DeSantis would have an opportunity to do the things that she's talking about. So this is not for just Trump, it's just for any Republican president to come in and do all these things in the democracy. Something like a guy like DeSantis, I think he will do this. He might be even more dangerous than Trump, because Trump's kind of incompetent, but a guy like Ron DeSantis, he's smarter, and he's more dangerous than Donald Trump, actually. I mean, he could do these things. He's a little smarter than Trump. He's a lot smarter than Trump, I should say. And Nikki Haley's another one too. And she could, she's dangerous. But I don't know. I think she could be dangerous too. She might do these things. She definitely she's a warmonger. She definitely will implement this, most likely. The one guy might say may not do this is Chris Christie. He'll probably do this. Vec Fisfani will definitely implement this. He talked about it on TYT, getting rid of the bureaucrats. See? He talked about doing this, actually. And they never really questioned him, TYT, when they interviewed him. You know what I mean? Didn't push back on it. Like, how would this happen? It's interesting, you know what I mean? It was a bad interview, but yeah. So this is for any Republican president, when any candidate becomes president. So
Institutional infrastructure is now putting itself to the task of accomplishing what it always wanted to accomplish through this new method, this MAGA method of doing it. And, it's extremely disturbing. However, let me just point one thing out. And I think I may have mentioned this to you before, but I'll say it again because I think it's important to remember this. During the Iraq War, you remember the coalitional provisional government?
Yes.
Provisional authority. They were going to send in. The whole idea is that we're going to remove the whole governing structure of Iraq, and what we're going to do is we're going to put in new people who are going to create this beautiful Jeffersonian democracy in Iraq, and we're going to help them. Remember, they were always spouting that. So that was the whole neocon vibe.
Yeah.
Remember, was just we're not hurting these people. We're making their lives better. We really are. I mean, the dead, it's a shame, but really in the end they'll thank us for it. And they demanded that the Iraqis thank them for it. So they sent in all these people into to man the CPA, to start up everything from new infrastructure projects to a new government to a new stock market. They had everything that they were going to do all this. Well, I know anybody who's been around for the last 20 years remembers that it was a complete and utter disaster. It was a total debacle. They ended up sort of huddling in like 2 or 3 Quonset huts in the middle of the green zone in the middle of Baghdad, and never really got anything done, and it ended up being just a complete bust.
And it was all like 22-year-old interns.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
It was the heritage. It turned out nobody could figure out how they could go so wrong, right? I mean, come on. America doesn't have people who could actually do this. I mean, they helped rebuild Europe after World War II. I mean, come on, what's going on? Well, as it turned out, it was another patronage operation. They found the
there you go, folks. Exactly. The corruption.
able to do this through resumes that the Heritage Foundation dug up. And it turned out that the main qualification was their adherence to, right-wing ideology, particularly, things like if they were pro-life or not. That was really important for the person who was putting together the new stock market in Iraq. And they were like 22, 25-year-olds who had never had a job before. They were had been interns at the Heritage Foundation. So I just mentioned that because I see the same thing here in their minds, that they're going to do the same thing.
That war is amazing, folks. It's amazing, so much corruption. The whole thing, the Iraq war, totally corruption. I mean, so many people died. So many Iraqis. U.S. soldiers, but Iraqis, innocent people, died for nothing. I mean, it's a shame. You talk about war crimes? Wow.
They want to put in
Are you ready to learn the secret to cheap Canadian cannabis? At Bloom Supply, we're more than just an online dispenser.
their people, right? And they want to put in good Republican ideologues in there. But think about who the Trump voters really are. Think about the kind of people that you're going to find that are going to, want to go take some, mid-level job at the EPA. I mean, these people don't know how to do anything. And I'm not sure they even know how to destroy things. Now, it's possible that they will go in there and just do nothing. They'll just let it all go to hell. I mean, that's a thing that they can do. But I'm just, if there's any grand plan to create something out of this, and I'm not sure there is, because a lot of this, as Steve Bannon, has made clear, is just chaos agent stuff. They're just gonna, just wreck it all, and then, I don't know, rise like a phoenix out of the ashes. But I do think that the idea that the Heritage Foundation and these Republican think tanks, this is not a group of particularly competent people, which may be worse, because in the end, chaos and instability, it may be the worst thing that we can.
Yeah, folks, maybe even worse. This might be even worse than Iraq. Huh. I mean,
that could happen.
I mean, the from the perspective of deconstructing the administrative state, putting 50,000 as they want. There's 40,000, I guess, employees essentially that they want to remove their civil service. Getting rid of 40,000 civil servants and just putting in, a cardboard cutout is all you really need to do, right? I mean, you're losing all of the institutional memory. You're losing all of the institutional competence. And then it's just off to the races, because all of a sudden people aren't getting their checks from
which is crazy, folks. This is pure madness. I mean, definitely pure madness. And the Republican Party's gone totally unhinged. Pure lunacy.
From the ag department, they aren't getting their their Social Security. They're not getting, the water's bad. I mean, you're off to the races at that point, because you've achieved what you want to achieve, is turn the government essentially, if not against people, the people against the government, because it's not effective, and
It's not working. Yeah.
no, it's not simply not working. And the idea of it being this now, like the sort of the agenda being completely farmed out into the institutional aspects of the Republican Party. We interviewed Andy Kroll, who's now at ProPublica, about his Leonard Leo piece that he co-wrote with a couple others, we should say. And this is the guy who essentially has remade the judiciary in this country over the course of the past 25 years. And He's now got, people forget this, he's got $1.6 billion, is it? That was bequeathed him in his organization to do the same thing, but with the culture. And this is a guy who has now all of these relationships within the legal apparatus of the Republican Party. But that's, that's the name of the game on that side. And he's just going to do this in the context of, these organizations like Heritage and like the Claremont Foundation. Claremont Foundation, incidentally, has been probably the primary source of all the think pieces on why we don't really need a democracy. We need a religious Caesar. I mean, all of these things are sort of like in the ether now. And
so eventually they're gonna turn America into a Christo-fascist state. I mean, eventually.
And it's, I used to say this during the Trump administration was, I don't know if we're at where we're at is like a full-on authoritarianism and fascism, but we would never necessarily need to pass through where we are today to get there. And
good point.
We're getting closer. We're passing through all the things you would need to get to that point.
Absolutely. I mean, we're definitely passing through all that. And, any American, one thing people need to really realize is that when you think about fascism, we think about things like, obviously Germany in the 30s, Italy, Pinochet, Franco in Spain.
Yeah.
There are examples of fascism that we're familiar with. American fascism will be different. Let's just face it. It's not going to look like that. It's going to look different. And we have to use our imagination to see how that might be. The fact that we have a TV reality guy who had created an entirely false persona his entire life that was then turned into a TV character, essentially, that really made his second fortune. People have to realize that, Trump was pretty much broke when they came along and created The Apprentice for him. And The Apprentice made him...
Yep, see, folks? So Jake the mother channel, Jake the asshole was saying, was really a WWE wrestler, but he was a millionaire, a so-called millionaire. His father gave him an investment, $100 million, and he squandered it. And she's right. He became a TV star on The Apprentice. With The Apprentice show, became a TV star, and that really helped him. And plus, the Russians helped him, Russian banks, and the oligarchs in Russia. So that's why he's friendly to Russia. And people on the left think that's called out Russiagate, but hey, he's friendly to Russia because the Russians gave him the money, the banks loaned him the money, so they call it Russiagate. And you're too you unhinge, and that's Trump derangement syndrome. If you mention Russia, he lend the Russian banks lend him money, give him loans. Some on the left, I guess. Anyways.
Rich again, because with all the branding and he had all the products, he turned into Jessica Simpson basically, or some celebrity selling products, and a lot of people liked it. And there are a lot of billionaire celebrities. Kylie Kardashian, or Kylie Jenner is one. That just because of their name they do it. That's how Trump made his money. So it's that fame / money / glamour thing in American fascism that is going to be very different. And Donald Trump embodies that and makes that work for us. So everybody needs to just, that's an aside, just keep that in mind as we watch this thing unfold. But the basic fundamentals are the same. And what you say is absolutely true. There's a transition from one to the other. It's not just an abrupt, I mean, we're not having a military coup, in other words. That's not happening. We're just gradually becoming this new fascist, American fascist state. And what we're seeing here now in this election comes
Slowly but surely, folks.
coming up is the, the sort of presentation of what exactly they have in mind in terms of actually doing things to benefit the same people that, of course, they were always going to benefit, and what fascism often benefits, which is, their, sort of quasi-populist base, and then the, obviously the corporate, big money people who are, bankrolling a lot of this. Now, Leonard Leo, the interesting thing about that, I thought the other day, and I wrote a little piece about it, within the Trump orbit, there's a new guy. His name is Russell Vought. He's been around for a while, and he's kind of been running a lot of the real Trumpy stuff. He's kind of keeping the MAGA extremism alive within the sort of Washington. He was some kind of congressional, I can't remember what it specifically his job used to be, but he's been around for a long time. He's emerged as kind of an intellectual leader of the MAGA movement. And he is, interestingly, an enemy of Leonard Leo, and thinks that the Federalist Society and Leonard Leo have gone way too soft.
Wow.
Way too soft. They've
Way too
just
soft.
soft, yeah. They're way too soft. They're squishes. The courts didn't step up to keep Donald Trump in office the way that they were promised to do. They were supposed to be his, Republican puppets, and they didn't do that. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. And so there's a movement within this. And, look at the Congress right now. You can see the outlines of the kind of fighting that's going on within the Republican Party, that this is kind of happening within the MAGA movement. So just to add that in as a little bit of a complication here, not that it's a good thing, it's a horrible thing, because it's between bad and worse, but nonetheless, this kind of churn and instability in this whole thing is leading to, I think, chaos in a bunch of different directions that we haven't really anticipated before.
And I think we would be remiss not to just add one more element to this. I don't think it's unclear whether it was Sinclair Lewis who said this, but the quote has some resonance. When fascism comes to America, it will be wrapped in the flag and carrying a cross. And, we do have probably
Crystal fascism. That's what's coming, folks.
arguably the most powerful, but certainly at least the second most powerful theocrat we have ever had in our government today.
No doubt.
As Speaker of the House. I mean, this is a guy who's a full-on Christian nationalist. I mean, there's no arguing about that. He's doing a very good job of his lying for the Lord right now, in terms of he realizes, we need to sort of tone this down at the moment. But the reason why he's getting the ability to tone it down, we just saw a continuing resolution passed with majority Democratic votes, which of course was the thing that ostensibly got Kevin, I can't even remember his name now, McCarthy. Yeah, Kevin McCarthy booted. Well, the reason why Mike Johnson can get away with it, for at least now, is because they all know who he is, and they don't have the same suspicion of him when he does that as they did with McCarthy. When Johnson does it, Johnson's doing it because it's part of a longer-term plan to essentially, bring in that Christian nationalism and full-on, right-wing agenda.
Wow. There it is, folks. It's from Sam Cedar and Majority Report. Trump 2025. And so he's telling you over and over again, they're gonna do this. Trump's gonna do this. And not even Trump, the Republican Party is gonna do this. But I believe if Trump gets in, he's gonna definitely do this. I don't know about the other candidates. Maybe DeSantis. Well, DeSantis will do it. Christie, I think Christie will do this. And Vivek, he was gonna do this. Haley. See, Haley will do this. She might do this in a way. I don't think I think she believes in the Constitution, but I don't know. You know, I think Haley's unknown. Well, not unknown, but I'm not really sure. When I think about it, Nikki Haley would do this. Although she's pro-war, but she might do certain things. I mean, but Trump or DeSantis, definitely they're gonna do this. Gonna end like a democracy. He'd be like a king. Like a dictator. Definitely those guys. One of them gets in, they're gonna be a dictator. Anyways, folks, what do you think about that? That's my reaction to that. Trump 2025. Or Project 2025, I should say it's called. I'm out, folks.